Alright, today we're looking at a gold off tank. And it looks like they're either using a controller or playing on
Are we
console.
gonna join team chat this time?
I guess.
Are we gonna join team chat this time? Uh, yeah. We should always join team chat. Or I guess not always, but it definitely helps if you do. So, you end up running Orisa, Diva, Junk, Widow, Mora, Lucio. There's nothing wrong with this, actually. It's pretty good, 2-2-2, standard 2-2-2, but, so Diva's good with this comp, but, what would be better, if you have the coordination to do it, is a Hog, because then you can hook orbs and stuff, but, so we'll be looking at Diva today, which is fine.
That's got a torture on up there?
Nice job, Bruce.
So that was a good kill of the Mora. It says it's HD. It lies.
Down.
Yo, hard pocket?
Good kill on the Orisa.
Got it.
Moving down.
You're dead.
Roadhog's in front.
So you didn't really have time to react there, but in general, when a hog hooks someone on your teammate, especially if they're that close, you can just hold right click and you'd save your teammate's life basically. Good eat on the orb.
Moira.
So
That was a big oof.
yeah, it's alright though.
You got two people in.
Almost got onto high ground. So here, that bomb. First of all, you got beat, so you have 1,200 health right now, basically. Your boosters are about to run out, so you can't really launch it that far. It's much better to just hold on to the bomb and just like shoot, just hold down left click and just shoot at the shield, at the Orisa, or at the Hog. And especially since you just got beat. Like, whenever you bomb, you want to try to get as much value out of it as possible. So that would mean like either you're zoning off like a point, you're not allowing them to touch the point, you can get a lot of value that way, or you can obviously get a big bomb and kill a lot of people. Or you can just honestly just sometimes use it to remech, but when your mech's low, get a new mech. Now, obviously, if you can do all three of those at once, that's a like amazing god tier bomb. You know, if your mech gets low, you launch it up, it kills a bunch of people, and you win the point that way. That those bombs happen. Those are huge bombs. Those are good bombs. But even if you can just get like one of those three, it's still an okay bomb. So whenever you bomb, you always want to think why I'm using the bomb, right? Whenever you do anything, I guess you should always ask yourself why. But especially with bomb, you want to be asking like, what can I accomplish by using bomb here? Now you were trying to throw it, above the shield, but even then, it's an ulting Moira over there. There's a Hog, Orisa, and maybe some other teammates. I don't remember if Orisa just used the shield, but if she did, then it might have been okay. But still, it's 2 tanks and a Moira. You're not really going to be able to do much with the bomb. Are you trying to zone them away? What are you trying to zone them away from? From cart? Even if you're able to lob it over, they can just maybe back up around this pillar and hold here, or back up all the way. I guess that would give you some space. That would be a good usage, I guess. But you're at more than full health, so you definitely don't need a new mech, and you can definitely just hold on to this bomb until you see a better opportunity. But yeah, so always be thinking why and what am I trying to accomplish with your bomb, I guess. So the Orisa just used shield and blocked off your bomb. So especially when you're playing against Orisa, if you do want to end up using a bomb to get kills on the enemy team, you want to throw it in right now would be a good time to throw it in right after she's used her shield. Then you can throw it behind them, and then they're either forced to push up into your team or play around the shield, in which case your team can run into them and kill them or something. But you almost make it onto high ground, which is unlucky, I guess. Yeah. So with D.Va, I noticed you play on low ground and with your team a lot, and there's nothing inherently wrong with playing on your team. So here now you're trying to look for the Moira, and now you're on high ground, which is good. And it's good because of reasons like these. You can take off angles, and you can just pump in damage on them. So here you see the Orisa gets low, and try to finish her off before she gets healing from the BAP. But the problem is this right here. BAP just ults, and as you're going in, you should realize BAP just ulted. And that means 2 things. That means Orisa's going to get healed up a lot, and that means the BAP's going to be, and the BAP and anyone else behind the shield is going to be, not the shield, but the square, is going to be doing a lot of damage. So even though you're at pretty much full health, and you have your matrix, as soon as you start going in, it's fine, he ulted after you started going in, but as soon as you see him plop that down, you can maybe shoot for a little bit, but then turn around immediately or as soon as possible to get back onto high ground so you can maintain your high ground. Because it's very hard for them to get an angle on you through the square where they can get max damage. And really the only one who can damage you on high ground right now is the Orisa or the Moira. But then if they're doing that, the Moira is wasting her ult, and Orisa's not focusing on who she should be. Well, if they do focus you, you can just back up into the mega room over there on the top left and hide or not take damage, I guess. So with D.Va, you'll see if you watch Overwatch League a lot, you'll see especially when they play goats, but even you don't have to be playing goats to do this. The D.Va almost always takes a position, takes an off angle, somewhere on the high ground, or in goats. In Overwatch League, for example, they'd be, for example, if this was Overwatch League and there was a Reinhardt here, enemy Reinhardt, the D.Va might be here shooting down back into him, so that'll force that Reinhardt to either turn around or force the other D.Va on the other team to go contest, or basically it forces some attention to go into the D.Va, and that attention creates space for your team because that attention is now on you instead of on your team. And that's really one of the main jobs is D.Va. You want to be taking off angles on high grounds usually to get in extra poke damage on the enemy team to force them to look at you. And then when they do, because you're so mobile, you have boosters every 5 seconds, you can just fly away and relocate somewhere else. And another job that D.Va does pretty well is peeling for your supports. So earlier when your Junkrat got hooked on the first attack somewhere here. I believe it's right here actually. Yeah, your Junkrat gets hooked. If you had just held right click there, as soon as you hear the hook, just hold right click. Start holding right whatever D matrix is on a controller. I think it's left bumper. I'm not sure, but as soon as you hear the hook, hold down D matrix and turn around, and you can potentially save your Junk's life. You end up winning this fight anyways, but if your Junk was alive, that's just more chances. Increases your chances of winning, I guess. So again, that hook, instead of shooting at the hog, hold right click or activate your defense matrix to try to eat some of that damage. Where were we? We're here, right? No, too far. Here. Yeah. There's nothing you could do about that. You're demeched. Just want to see what they're running. So, okay. They're running Orisa Hog, Bap, Torb. So they're kind of like a mini bunker, sort of, with the Bastion, Orisa Hog, and Torb. And you're just, yeah. So you might actually. The reason why Hog is so good with Orisa, which a lot of the lower ranks, even like in Diamond and Masters even, Orisa Hogs, they just pick Orisa Hog because like that's just a combo. But then a lot of them don't know why it's so good, and the reason why Orisa Hog is so good is because Orisa throws out her orb like above the enemy Orisa shield, and it pulls everyone up, and then the Hog can hook that orb, and you get a free hook basically. And Hog is good at shield breaking Orisas, so playing D.Va here might not necessarily be the best idea. So what D.Va does, she's actually super versatile, so it's not a bad idea, but Hog may be better, because you could be going for those pulls, especially since they have a Doomfist. Hog is really good against Doomfist, and it's good against BAP too, because you can hook people out of the BAP field. But especially against Doomfist, if he's going to be trying to go for most likely your Junk or your Moira or your Widow. Those are his real only, like, he can dive on your Risa, dive on your Lucio maybe dive you, but he's not going to be able to accomplish much. It's going to be much easier to go for a squishy that doesn't have that much mobility. So what you can do as D.Va to help your team is you can peel and hold defense matrix when he comes in, or if you were playing Hog, you'd be able to hook him as he's coming in, but that doesn't matter. I guess we're looking at D.Va, so getting high ground is good on D.Va. This is really good.
There's a Hog in the bank.
That's a good eat on the orb. Junk gets a massive tire. That's good. So this fight here, one problem I've noticed is like here, for example, you just briefly flash your defense matrix for like short periods of time. Like here, you're at full health. Your Orisa's most likely about to drop a shield. There's really no need to be using defense matrix right now. Especially if you had saved it, you would have been able to eat more of Torb's ult. After the change that made defense matrix go from 1 second cooldown to 2 second cooldown, You almost never want to be eating like
There's a hog in the bank.
like that defensive matrix there. The hog was just like shooting randomly poke damage. He wasn't gonna be able to kill you or the Orisa. Maybe if he had landed a hook, and then a defense matrix would have been good because then you would have countered the value of his hook, sort of. So you want to be more conservative with your usage of defense matrix now after the change. It was like a month or so ago, from 1 second to 2 seconds. Especially with the most recent change, the fact that its range is shorter now too. You want to be conservative so that you can have defense matrix when it matters most, right? So eating that bit of poke from the hog probably wasn't necessary. That was a good eat. You should almost always go for more eats, but this eat here, you're at full health. It's just a Torb turret and the Orisa spamming down. You don't really eat anything actually with your defense matrix, and use up almost all your entire bar. And now there's 2 seconds where you can't do anything. If their hog lands a hook, or if the Orisa tries to go for a pull, you wouldn't have anything to help counter any of that. The reason why D.Va is so strong is because she can just counter ults, like pulls. She can do so much with her defense matrix. If you didn't use the defense matrix here and just waited a little bit more, you would have been able to eat more of the Torbolt. I mean, you still do eat some, but... And another thing, you're playing most of this fight on low ground, especially when you're on D.Va, there's really no point to... I said there's no... I guess that's not necessarily correct. You want to be on high ground as much as you can, just so you can be going for those off angles, like I said earlier, behind or around a shield. And if there's a Doom up there, you can contest the Doom and try to force him off high ground where he wouldn't be as effective, or move him back so he has to relocate somewhere else, and that'll take him time to do that. The only times where you want to be on low ground with your team as D.Va is when you're looking to eat a grav or protect when you're peeling. That's when you want to be with your team. Otherwise, or if the worst that can happen is if you go to a high ground above there is you start getting poked, in which case you can fall back down and get healed up. But you have this mobility tool every 5 seconds, and it's so powerful, and you should definitely abuse that as much as you can. Orisa, especially against Orisa Hog, they're both super immobile tanks, and they don't really have anyone to contest you on high ground besides Doom. They have Orisa Hog, they have Torb, they have Mora, they have Bap. I guess Bap may be able to contest by jumping up, but if they do contest you, you can always fall back to your team or use your defense matrix while you get healed up, and then, D.Va deals a lot of damage, so you could maybe kill them too. Because when you're just staying with your team like this, and you're playing Orisa Hog, you're basically a worse Hog, because then all you're doing is trying to break their Orisa shield, and you're a worse Hog who can sometimes eat some things, right? But if you're on high ground, you can just as easily just drop down and eat this same ults as you can down here on the low ground. So definitely be trying to look for those off angles. Maybe, up here, if the Orisa shield's here, be shooting down on them from above, or maybe even back here and shoot them from behind like that. Just look for different angles so that you can exploit how immobile certain tanks are. Now, if you're playing dive, then that's completely different, right? Then you want to be going with your Winston, you want to be sticking with your team, because then you're moving as one big unit, jumping onto a single target. But if you're playing against, Orisa Hog or Ryan Zarya, then definitely be looking. And if you're playing those, goats, or you're playing Orisa D.Va, definitely be looking for off angles on the enemy team so that you can like you can help get in damage and help relieve the pressure on your team, because some of that pressure will be directed at you, and you'll be a lot safer. Like you can avoid that pressure. Like that pressure is like nothing to you. You can use your defense matrix. You can fly away. You can drop down back to your team, get healing, and then go back onto high ground and annoy them some more. So. Again, you can defense matrix that. So, there, I mean, this is super nitpicky, but you notice you get caught out, so you start backing up, you hold defense matrix, and then you immediately turn around and fly back. Your team's right there, so it doesn't really matter, but in general, like, this is super nitpicky, but you can, it's totally fine for you to hold right click and just press S backwards while still looking at them. In that scenario, you wouldn't be taking any damage from the front, and you know your team's behind you, so you take less damage while you're leaving, essentially. And then once you're further behind, you can turn around and fly away. If you just like immediately fly away, they can still damage you from the back, and especially when you're so low, there's a high possibility you get demeched. You don't get demeched here, which is good. But if you were, you would have either had to recharge your mech with a bunny blaster or use your bomb to mech. And in this scenario, that probably wouldn't have been the best, because you could have easily avoided it. Are you going to try to go for a bomb here?
Hog on the left. Hog no breather.
Yes, you do. Right. That was a good bomb, actually. You got a kill. Actually, honestly, you probably didn't need that bomb, because
Hog on the left.
you already killed Bap, you killed the Doom, you killed Up here, or Hog here, so you're up 3 already.
Hog no breather.
So you have the man advantage, right? No one on your team has died yet, so it's a 6v3. You can just as easily just fly up onto high ground and shoot down on the Torb and kill him that way, or just even if you just stay with your team, you'd be able to push the cart a decent ways until the enemy team starts respawning, and then you can use a bomb and get more kills that way, more impactful kills, because then those kills could snowball your team like to winning that fight, sort of, if that makes any sense. Instead, you already use your ult when you're already up 3, so that one extra kill on the Torb doesn't really do much. You're already pushing the cart for free, essentially.
There's no recall.
So again, you're just playing here low ground. If you flew up onto high ground, it would, instead of flying straight into the BAP, or fly into the BAP and then fly back onto high ground with what little remaining boosters you have, and stay up there, or like, it's a lot easier to shoot down. It's a lot easier for the, how should I say this? It's a lot harder for the enemy to shoot back at you when you're on the high ground. No. Okay. So, the reason why high ground is so good. Say this is you. You're person A. There's person B. Person B is the enemy, right? You have this established sight line here. You can see him. He can see you. If he wants to get out of your line of sight, he has to either run behind an obstacle that's nearby, or just like, there's not much else he can do, really. Get behind a friend's shield. It's really hard for him to break this line of sight that you have. Whereas for you, if you want to break this line of sight, if person B is dealing a lot of damage to you, then all you have to do is walk backwards. and you break off the line of sight, because then you're here, he can't see you anymore. Not only that, whenever you're on high ground, position A, position B. If you're at position A and you decide, hey, I shouldn't be here, I should be at position B, all it would take is for you to drop down, and that takes like a couple seconds, right? 1 second maybe. But if you're at position B and you want to go up to position A as D.Va, it's still pretty easy. You just have to fly up there. But in doing so, you use up a cooldown. That's 5 seconds before you can fly again, and you might get caught out here. Who knows, right? So, long story short, go for high ground. It gives you a better vantage point on the enemy. It's harder for them to hide from your damage, and it's easier for you to hide from their damage. And if maybe the high ground wasn't the right idea, you can drop down super easily.
There's a turret on the right side, watch out.
Oh,
Watch out, soldier behind you.
yeah, we need to group up. Is everybody?
Yep.
That's unlucky.
Kill one turret top right.
Tried to kill that dude, guys.
Kill one dead.
So that defense matrix there, again, probably not the best. And especially against Hog, the reason why you don't want a defense matrix as soon as you see him is because if he hooks you, your defense matrix is on a 2-second cooldown, and then he just gets free shots into you and he can demech you really easily that way. So especially against a Hog, unless he's already shooting or you know he doesn't have hook, or if you're trying to like save a teammate who's low and who's he's shooting at, always wait until you get hooked and then use the defense matrix, because then you can basically mitigate all the damage that he would have been able to deal to you with the hook, and then you can just fly away. And maybe you lose, a little bit health when you're flying away, but you're not going to be demeched most likely. Unless you're pulled into his entire team, I guess, but... So I know your team's saying to group up, but you could stay on high ground. You don't necessarily have to come all the way back here.
Go this way.
I'll go here.
And if you were still on high ground, maybe you could have saved your Junk's life.
There we go. We're up one. Oh, dumbass didn't put it on point.
So whenever possible, you want to try to use the defense matrix to cancel out as much of the enemy team as you can. It's like when the whole hogs here, like it's totally acceptable to just literally just hold right click or hold defense matrix in his face and not let him use ult at all, because then you're using just a tiny bit of your cooldown that you can use like every 2 seconds. You're basically canceling out his entire ult with that, and that's a lot of value, right? And that's the reason why D.Va is so good, because she can just cancel out ults like it's nothing. So you do it for a little bit, and then he gets behind the cart. You can. So when you're in this position here, he goes around to the right side of cart. If you just look here, like the range on defense matrix is pretty big. It's not anymore after the latest nerf, but I think it'd still be able to reach around the cart at least, like in front of the cart, and you'd be able to cut off his ult's pellets that are coming this way. Instead of like letting go of defense matrix and waiting 2 seconds for him to come here and like boop you guys all back. And he destroys your Orisa's bongo that way too, which you could have saved. So you do end up killing Doom and Hog. That's good. And you contest BAP. That's also really good. That's a good job. So, yeah. Turret as aimbot, crouching does nothing. You could just stood there and shot, but that's more of a...
Oh no.
It's not home.
So, okay. See where you go. Yes. So this is a good spot to be, starting out as D.Va on Dorado defense. Because you have a different angle, right? Because your Orisa's line of sight is there, yours is here, but your teammates are here too. What are also good starting points on D.Va is here and here. Because then you can shoot down on them here or shoot down on them here. And from here you can shoot down on them from behind too. And it's super easy for you to get away from this place. From here you can just fly back here. From here you can fly over there or fly over here. So just like, especially since like, just think about your positioning some more, I guess. Right? So here is already a good spot, but like here maybe a better spot, or maybe here, because then you already have some teammates here. If you're here or here, then you can like split the enemy's focus even more. They're like, who do we look at? Do we look at the people up here? Do we look at Orisa? Do we look at D.Va? I don't know what to do. And that's what D.Va does really well. If they do decide to look at you, you can just fly away and move somewhere else. If they don't, you just get free damage into them. So. D-matrix usage probably wasn't necessary. So now you're back with your Orisa. They have a Ryan, so you can very easily just fly over here to this area and just shoot down from behind the Ryan shield or above it. Instead, you're just shooting into it, where you could be shooting like, instead of getting damage onto the Ryan, you can be getting, or instead of getting damage onto Ryan's shield, you could be damaging Ryan himself, which would, scare him away or something, maybe. Right. So here in this situation, maybe instead of standing here, you could be standing up here or over here on the ledge here, shooting back into them. Or maybe you could be standing in here. That's a little bit more risky because it's harder to fly out. Or maybe here as well. That's also kind of risky. But so these two spots here are definitely valid spots that you could be standing in. So right now there's a Doom in your backline. He jumped into a bunch of you and he uppercutted and he's still back there. Instead of pursuing this kill, you should definitely be like turning around, holding defense matrix on your teammates who are getting low so that the Doom doesn't get any value. The reason why Doom is so good in like some of the lower ranks and even like Diamond, even Masters honestly, is because no one, or I guess a better way to put it is, Doom is good. Doom can feel super extremely oppressive if no one punishes Doom for extending into your team. So
Reinhardt.
that's a good kill on the Reinhardt. He doesn't turn around, but
Doofus.
I do like how you're calling out targets. But
Doofus.
like,
Kill Doofus.
so there's even a Hanzo behind you. I don't think Doomfist gets any
Right
kills,
hard.
but Hanzo does. And you could easily peel for your team with the Hanzo too, just by holding defense matrix over your teammate.
Doomfist.
And so, I know you're focusing on Doomfist and it's fine, but when you see Hanzo when you start hearing his ult voice line, and especially if you can see him, you didn't have boosters, so I guess you couldn't have done it, but you can at least like try to eat his ult. I don't think it would have reached actually at this range, especially since you don't have boosters, but just things to think about, I guess. So you keep saying Doomfist, and you're getting kind of frustrated because your team's not doing anything about Doomfist. But the reason why they're not doing something about Doomfist is because they're dead. Right? Hanzo killed them all. Hanzo just killed Genji here.
Right hard.
Hanzo killed your junk. So that's your two DPS down.
Doomfist.
The only people who can, like, I think you still have Mora, Lucio. So it's only Mora, Lucio, you, and Orisa right now. And Doomfist, is getting healed by their Mora, and he's getting shields whenever he deals damage to people. And his Brig just healed him there too. So maybe you could have used Defense Matrix to try to extend your Orisa's life. I don't know. This fight's already lost though. So it's already lost. You should not ult. An ult would be a waste here. But you should definitely die on cart, which it looks like you're doing. I don't know if that's your intention or not, but it's definitely good that you're staying on cart and stalling it out as long as possible. So yeah. That ult's not going to get any value. Yeah. You already lost 5 at that point.
Oh my god.
And you were in the middle of the enemy team. It would have been much better to save it here. So that's good to eat his storm arrows, because that's a lot of his damage right there. So if you had your bomb here, this would have been a good bomb, right? It would have zoned them off cart, and it might have been even been able to catch some of them off guard and kill 1 or 2 maybe. Instead, you used it earlier when you couldn't really like do anything with it, and you get no value from the one earlier. So always be thinking whenever you ult, also, is this fight lost? Is it won? Should I save it? And in that scenario, you had already lost the fight. Like 2 of your DPS got picked off super early, and then the rest of your team dies, and you're the only one left alive. In that scenario, try to stall cart as long as you can, like die on cart, but don't ult, because then you might be able to use it next fight and actually get some value out of it. You tried to eat his ult, that's fine, that's good. You did it really far behind, so you didn't get it. But so here, you drop down onto high ground, which I'm not actually sure why. But if you were still on high ground right now when he charged in, you could have been shooting down on top of him or from behind. So, especially against stationary targets, or stationary shields like Orisa and Ryan. Definitely be looking for those off angles on them.
Hard point.
There's a bridge on you.
Brig. Cover maintain.
What's with this quote? 1 second. I feel like it should be better. No, maybe not. Alright, that's fine. So, you have your defense matrix. I think getting out there was probably the better choice because you already lost 2. But you could have eaten the hog ult. Maybe. So, when you lose a fight like this, you either want to just back out, disengage completely, or die on cart. and dying on cart is good because it basically, even though you lost the fight, they're not getting any progress on the objective. You choose this disengage, but you don't completely disengage. Like, you fall back down here, whereas if you had gone up onto the high ground into the mega room, you would have definitely survived. So, yeah. So you end up dying anyways. If you had died on cart, if you had died on cart here, instead of the cart being what is it? It's like over here somewhere, it would have still been back there. So either die on cart or disengage completely whenever you start losing fights. So it's good to deal damage onto Doom first, but since he only has 4 left clicks, or 4 bullets in his gun, it's totally fine to just defense matrix those 4 and then shoot him after you're sure that he doesn't have anything, that the only thing he has left are abilities. Because right now, I don't think he actually... Yeah, so those 2 shots you could have eaten and it would have saved your team. Although I don't think your team's going to die from that. They would have definitely have more health here. But
He needs to Doom.
unlucky.
Brig on our main tank. Doom.
So you kill Doom here. So again, high ground. I don't want to like be a broken record and keep repeating it, but so if you're just on the high ground here, you could have been shooting down like on top of the brig or on top of the Rhine or behind them.
Brig left side. Under. Also main.
So
Also main.
first of all, that DM,
Side. Under.
you guys already won the fights and they're backing out, so it's not that bad of a DM. But in any other scenario, if they were attacking, it would have been, because even if you let that one hit that you eat hit you, that would have only been what, like 120 damage, and you have armor too, so it would have been even less. That'd be more ult charge for your healers, right? I guess, like I said, in this scenario, there's nothing else you would really use it for, so it's fine. But here, this micro missile usage, there's really no point to use it. Again, you're not punished for it because the fight's already over. The enemy team's already backed out. But you know, you want to be saving your cooldowns. Like, you want to have a reason whenever you use your cooldowns, right? So you don't want to just use them because you have them. So that was a good eat on the fire strike. That was a good eat on the ball. I like this. You're getting high ground. And look, you can shoot down on him. really easily.
Brig, 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 brig.
Right behind.
Like,
Brig, 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 brig.
look how much value you get just from standing up here for like a couple seconds. Like, his shield breaks. Yes, you would have been able to break it even if you're standing on the ground. But you're dodging the Moira ult basically. You're not taking any damage from that. If he had his full shield here and he was just holding his shield here like this, you'd still be able to shoot him here, right? So high ground, definitely something you want to be going for as much as possible.
Hanzo, Hanzo.
Good kill on the Hanzo. Oh, you get demech by the Moira, alright.
Oh my god.
Oh, unlucky.
Run. Round is one. Got him.
Nice kill.
Hog on the high ground.
Good. You go contest him. And you don't chase too far. That's also good. Now,
Like get some traps around there or something.
you get out of there alive, which is a miracle. And you eat his whole hog. Also good. Now they're all up there now with no shield, so you can lob a bomb up there and try to go for a kill. Bomb kill. But it's totally fine to save it too.
I have a fair now.
That was a nice bomb. Good kill. So that was nice. And now, do you go reset high ground? You go back onto high ground? You do actually. So that's good. You should do this more often.
They come in left side.
They're all going top left.
Bottom. Brig bottom.
You turn around to help heal for your teammates. That's definitely good.
Tracer.
So just another thing of cooldown usage here.
They're all going top
You probably didn't need to fly into the Doom. If anything, so right here. The Doom's here. He punched in, and he uppercuts.
Doom.
The only way he can get out now is either by ulting or using his seismic slam. So you can literally just stand here and just shoot at him without honestly having to move much. And that would be a lot easier to shoot at him that way. Instead, you boost into him. That makes you like lose sight of where he is because he slams right afterwards. And then you're like, oh, where'd he go? And he's like right there, and then you do end up killing him. Or, well, Lucio does, so that's good. But
DVD next.
Get Brig. Everyone together, kill Brig.
nice call outs. So there's still the Pharah in the sky. I don't think. Oh, never mind. You do have a hit scan. Never mind. But if you don't have a hit scan, it's basically your job to deal with the Pharah. But even if you do have a hit scan, it doesn't hurt to like just poke at the Pharah and try to scare her away from being up there. So you hear your teammates say to tracer behind, and you turn around and you try to peel, which is good. But you hold left. You shoot at the tracer instead of using defense matrix. Now, shooting at the tracer versus holding defense matrix. Shooting at the tracer, you get some poke damage, but you're really far away from the tracer, and she has blink, she has recalls. You assume. So you're most likely not going to be able to kill the Tracer, right? You're this far away from her. Your spread is going to be like like that on her, right? So not very many pellets are going to actually be hitting her, and even if they do, the fall off damage is going to make it so that it's not going to be dealing that much damage. So it's much better in this scenario to, instead of be trying to shoot her and kill her, using your defense matrix to cancel out any damage, any value she can get, and hope that maybe one of your teammates can kill her, or that she's just going to back out because she's going to be like, this is, I'm not doing anything here. But
Facing the recall.
Get their diva.
oh, it happens though. You get a nice bomb, so it looks like your team's able to clean up and finish off.
Get far, Hogan. I think she's the only one still there. Nice.
So yeah, you win. That's good. So overall, just to recap on everything that happened, positioning. Always be looking for those when you're playing with an Orisa or a Rhine, and especially if you're playing against an Orisa or a Rhine, always be looking for off angles that you can shoot like around the shield or behind the shield. You get much more value that way because you have so much mobility as D.Va. So just position yourself in places where the enemy has to like look away from your team to look at you to try to deal with you. And cooldown usage, especially with bomb, always be thinking, what do I hope to accomplish with this? Who is actually like, who would be affected by it? So if it's like, if you're using bomb on full health tanks, maybe that's not the best bomb to use. So like if you're at full health and you're using a bomb, unless it's going to be a big bomb, you can say, maybe I can wait around a little bit until I get to about half health and then throw a bomb in there, because then you get another free bomb for free, or free mech, full health mech. Cooldown usage, defense matrix. You don't want to be just flashing defense matrix on and off, because it's 2 seconds. Right? Defense matrix is such a powerful tool, but if you're only using it every now and then just to eat some poke damage, you're not really getting the full usage of it. Like even if the enemy doesn't end up doing anything that you could have eaten, just by saving it and having that as an option is such a big deal. Because like I'll go back to that one example, if I can find it here, I believe, with the Torb. You use defense matrix here when they're not really doing much. It's just like Orisa spamming some poke, the turret's shooting in at you, and that's about it. And you run out of defense matrix. But had you had it here, when the Torb starts ulting, you would have been able to basically cancel out all of his ult, and you wouldn't be like denied this area here where the lava is. So positioning, high ground, you want to be on high ground. Cooldown usage, be thinking about why you're ulting, what you hope to accomplish with that ult. Should you really ult? Did you win the fight already? If so, probably don't ult. Did you lose the fight already? If so, probably don't ult. You know, save defense matrix for important things, instead of just like using it to eat like poke that'll deal like 5 damage to you. Even if it deals 100 damage to you, you know, it's much better to use it to deny an ultimate like Whole Hog or Torb ult or Grav, stuff like that, Hanzo ult. And lastly, when you're peeling for teammates, use defense matrix. That's like, I guess this goes along with cooldown usage also. Like with the Doomfist, don't unnecessarily boost into people if you don't have to, because it makes your job harder actually. Only do it when you can, like when you're looking to get that extra burst with the melee, because then you fly into them, and then you have to like do like a whole 360, like, oh, where'd they go, you know. It just makes your hard makes your hard game, makes your job harder. And yeah, like with a tracer, back here, when you peel, you want to use your defense matrix.
There's no recall.
Get their D
You
with.
could have been positioned on high ground, which you were, and you fell back to peel, so that's fine. So I think, trying to think if there's anything else that I should say.
Get far, are we gonna? I think she's the only one still there.
I think that's about it.
Top left.
So positioning, get on high ground, cooldown usage. Yeah, like here you could have stayed on high ground. I've repeated myself a lot. I think you get the idea. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was useful. Be sure to let me know if it was or was not, and how I can make it better. I'm still learning myself, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.